He believed his mother's lies about his wife and twins. 18 years later, one video revealed the heartbreaking truth. The phone screen glowed in the darkness of the penthouse office. Dylan Walker's hands trembled as he pressed replay for the 7th time. His voice came out as barely a whisper. "Are those my sons?" On the screen, 2 young men stood side by side at a podium, holding a golden trophy between them. Their faces were mirrors of each other, sharp jawlines, dark eyes, the exact same features Dylan saw every morning in his own reflection. The announcer's voice rang through his speakers. And the winners of the Pacific Northwest Young Chef Championship are Aiden and Adrienne Morris, raised by their incredible single mother, Diane Morris, who built the Haven restaurant empire from nothing. The camera panned to the audience, and there she was, older now, but unmistakable, Diane. His Diane, tears streaming down her face as she stood and applauded. The same woman he had thrown out of his life 18 years ago, pregnant, accused of betrayal, destroyed by lies he had believed without question. Dylan's coffee mug slipped from his other hand and shattered against the marble floor. The sound echoed through the empty office like a gunshot. But he did not move, could not move. His eyes were locked on those 2 faces, those 2 young men who had his smile, his height, his everything. The video counter at the bottom showed 15 million views. But only one view mattered, and it had just destroyed everything Dylan Walker thought he knew about his life. His assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Walker, the board meeting starts in 10 minutes. He could not hear her, could not hear anything except the blood rushing in his ears and the announcer's words playing on loop in his mind. Single mother, 18 years. Morris. Her maiden name. The math was simple, brutal, undeniable. Dylan Walker, billionaire heir to a hotel empire worth $3 billion, had just discovered he had twin sons through a viral video on social media. Sons he had never met, never held, never knew existed, and the woman who raised them alone was the same woman he had abandoned, based on a lie. Before we go any further into this story that will absolutely shatter your heart and then put it back together in ways you cannot imagine, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on all notifications, because what you are about to hear is not just a story. It is a lesson about trust, about pride, about the devastating cost of believing lies told by the people we love most. This is a story about a billionaire who had everything and lost what mattered most, about a woman who had nothing and built an empire, about twin sons who grew up without a father because one woman's manipulation destroyed an entire family. If you have ever trusted the wrong person, if you have ever made a decision in anger that you could not take back, if you have ever wondered whether some mistakes are too big to forgive, then this story is for you. Drop a comment right now. Tell me where you are watching from, or just say, "I am with you, Mr. Hearthline," because you are going to need to be fully present for this journey. And smash that like button if you believe the truth always finds a way to surface, no matter how deep it is buried. Let me ask you something. Have you ever loved someone so completely that you ignored every red flag? Have you ever let pride blind you to the truth? Have you ever discovered that the person you trusted most in the world was the one who destroyed your life? Dylan Walker made a choice 18 years ago. A choice based on falsified evidence, manufactured lies, and a mother's manipulation. He chose pride over trust, accusation over love, his family's approval over his wife's truth, and that choice cost him everything. But here is what Dylan did not know as he sat in his darkening office, watching that video on repeat, his entire world crumbling around him. The truth was not just about to come out. It was about to explode in the most public, most devastating, most undeniable way possible. Because those 2 young men on the screen, Aiden and Adrienne Morris, they knew exactly who their father was, and they had spent months planning how to make sure he and the entire world knew what his choice had cost. What would you do if you discovered the biggest mistake of your life through a video watched by millions of strangers? What would you do if you realized that every single day for 18 years, you had been living a lie built by the one person you thought would never betray you? Dylan Walker was about to find out. And so are you. Let's go back to where it all began. Back to a time when Dylan Walker believed in love, when he trusted his heart more than his mother's warnings, when he met a culinary student with fire in her eyes and dreams bigger than his fortune. Back to the moment when everything was perfect, before the lies, before the betrayal, before 18 years of absence and regret. This is the story of how one man's pride destroyed a family, and how that family rose from the ashes without him. Stay with me, because this journey is going to break you, heal you, and remind you that karma does not forget. It just waits for the perfect moment to speak. The charity gala at the Manhattan Walker Hotel was the kind of event where fortunes were made and social hierarchies were reinforced. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light over women in designer gowns and men in custom tuxedos. The champagne flowed like water. The laughter was performative and perfect. Dylan Walker moved through the crowd with practiced ease. At 31 years old, he was everything his mother Karen had groomed him to be. Confident, successful, the perfect heir to the Walker Hotel's empire. He shook hands with investors, smiled for photographs, and played his role flawlessly. But he was bored. These events all blurred together. The same people, saying the same things. The same women his mother pushed toward him, each one from the right family with the right connections. Each one utterly forgettable. Then he saw her. She stood near the catering entrance, arguing quietly with one of the event coordinators. She wore the standard black and white uniform of the catering staff, but something about her commanded attention. Maybe it was the way she stood, chin lifted, refusing to be intimidated. Maybe it was the passion in her eyes as she gestured toward the kitchen. Or maybe it was simply that in a room full of people performing their wealth, she was absolutely, utterly real. The event coordinator walked away, and she released a frustrated breath, pushing a strand of dark hair behind her ear. Then she noticed Dylan watching her. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom. Time did that thing it does in movies. Everything else blurred. The noise faded. There was just her. She did not look away, did not blush or giggle like so many others did. She simply held his gaze with a slight raise of her eyebrow, as if to say, "Can I help you?" Dylan found himself walking toward her before his brain caught up with his feet. "You look like you were about to declare war on my event coordinator." She smiled, and the whole room got brighter. "Your event coordinator told me that the beef Wellington was overcooked and needed to be served anyway because there was not time to prepare more. I told him that I did not spend 4 years in culinary school to serve garbage to guests, even very wealthy ones who probably would not notice the difference anyway." Dylan laughed. Actually laughed, not the polite chuckle he used at these events. "And what did he say to that?" "He said I was fired." Dylan's eyebrows shot up. "And what did you say?" "That he did not have the authority to fire me, and I was making a new batch whether he liked it or not. So, if you will excuse me, I have about 45 minutes to save your guests from mediocre beef." She turned to leave, and Dylan did something he had never done before. Something completely unlike the careful, measured man his mother had raised. He reached out and gently touched her arm. "What is your name?" She turned back, studying him with those intelligent, fire-bright eyes. "Diane Morris. And you are Dylan Walker, which means this is your hotel, which means I probably should not have said that thing about wealthy people not noticing quality." Dylan grinned. "No, you absolutely should have. I am guessing I am supposed to fire you now." Diane shrugged. "I am guessing you are supposed to do a lot of things you do not actually want to do." The observation hit deeper than she could have known. Dylan found himself utterly captivated. "Have dinner with me. I am working. After you are done working, I will smell like beef Wellington and be covered in kitchen sweat. I do not care." Diane tilted her head, studying him. "Do you do this often, Mr. Walker? Ask the catering staff out to dinner?" "Never. In fact, I have never asked anyone out to anything without my mother arranging it first." The honesty surprised them both. Diane's expression softened. "Then I suppose I should say yes, for the sake of your emerging independence." Dylan's smile was genuine, unguarded, real. Meet me at the kitchen entrance at 11. And Diane, make the beef Wellington perfect. I want to taste what passion looks like when it is cooked into food." She held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded, then disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Dylan standing in the middle of his mother's carefully orchestrated event, feeling like his real life had just begun. He did not notice Karen watching from across the room, did not see the way her eyes narrowed when she saw which direction her son was looking, did not recognize the calculation that crossed her face. But he would, eventually, when it was far too late. That first dinner turned into a second, then a third. Within weeks, Dylan was spending every free moment with Diane. She showed him parts of the city he had never seen despite living there his entire life. Little restaurants in Queens where the food was incredible and the prices were not marked up for people with his last name. Farmers markets in Brooklyn where she knew every vendor by name. Her tiny apartment in the East Village that cost more than it was worth but had character that his penthouse would never have. They cooked together in her cramped kitchen. She taught him techniques she had learned in culinary school. He told her about the hotels, about the pressure, about feeling like a trophy his mother displayed rather than a son she loved. "I do not think you are supposed to tell me these things," Diane said one night, rolling pasta dough, while Dylan chopped vegetables beside her. "We have only known each other for 3 weeks. Dylan stopped chopping and looked at her. "I have never told anyone these things, not in 31 years. But with you, I cannot seem to stop talking." Diane's hands stilled on the dough. "That is either very romantic or very concerning." Dylan smiled. "Can it be both?" She laughed, that bright, genuine laugh that had become his favorite sound. "I suppose so. But Dylan, you need to know something. I am not like the women you usually date. I do not come from money. I do not have connections. I am drowning in student loan debt and working 3 catering jobs to make rent on an apartment the size of your closet. Your mother is going to hate me. I do not care. You say that now. I will say it always." Diane turned to face him fully, flour dusting her cheek. "Do you mean that?" Dylan reached out and gently brushed the flour away, his hand lingering on her face. "Diane Morris, I have spent my entire life doing what I am supposed to do, dating who I am supposed to date, being who I am supposed to be, and I have never, not once, felt anything real. Then you argued about beef Wellington and looked at me like I was just a man, not a trust fund with a pulse, and everything changed. So, yes, I mean it." Diane's eyes filled with tears. "You barely know me. Then let me know you. Let me know everything. Your dreams, your fears, what makes you laugh at 3 in the morning. Let me know the real you, and I promise I will show you the real me." She kissed him then, flour-covered hands and all, and Dylan knew, absolutely knew, that he was going to marry this woman. He proposed 3 months later, no fanfare, no grand gesture, just the two of them in her tiny kitchen making pasta carbonara when he suddenly could not imagine one more day of his life without her in it. He got down on one knee right there on the worn linoleum floor. "Diane, I know this is fast. I know my mother is going to lose her mind. I know there are 1,000 practical reasons to wait. But I do not want to wait. I do not want practical. I want you. Every morning, every night, every moment in between. Marry me." Diane dropped the spoon she was holding. It clattered against the stove. "Dylan, are you serious?" "Completely. Your mother will actually lose her mind. I know. The board will think you have lost yours. Probably. I am nobody. You are everything." Diane sank down onto the floor beside him, tears streaming down her face. "I do not even see a ring." Dylan laughed, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "I have been carrying this around for 2 weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. Then I realized that every moment with you is perfect." He opened the box. The ring was beautiful but not ostentatious, a simple diamond that caught the light and threw rainbows across the kitchen walls. "Oh my God," Diane whispered. "Is that a yes?" She threw her arms around his neck. "Yes. Yes. You are completely insane, but yes." They got married 6 weeks later. Small ceremony, despite Karen's attempts to turn it into a social event. City Hall with a handful of friends. Diane wore a simple white dress from a vintage shop. Dylan wore a suit, but no tie. They said their vows with tears streaming down both their faces, and Dylan had never been more certain of anything in his life. Karen attended, smiled for the photographs, but Dylan saw the coldness in her eyes when she looked at Diane, heard the edge in her voice when she welcomed her new daughter-in-law to the family. "She is not right for you," Karen said to Dylan at the small reception Diane's friends had thrown together. "This will end badly." Dylan's jaw tightened. "Mother, I am happy. Can you not just be happy for me?" Karen's smile was thin. "Of course, darling. I only want what is best for you." But her eyes said something different. Her eyes said, "I will fix this." Dylan ignored the warning signs, ignored the way his mother found reasons to visit their apartment unannounced, ignored the subtle digs disguised as concern, ignored everything except the joy of building a life with Diane. They found a larger apartment together. Nothing extravagant, despite Dylan's wealth. Diane insisted on contributing to rent, on maintaining her independence. They painted walls together on weekends, haunted flea markets for furniture, built something that was theirs, not his, not hers, but ours. 3 months into the marriage, Diane came home from a catering job with a pregnancy test in her bag. "I am late," she said, her voice shaking. "I am never late." Dylan's heart stuttered. "Do you want to take the test now?" "I am terrified." He pulled her close. "Whatever it says, we are in this together, okay?" Diane nodded against his chest, then pulled away and went into the bathroom. Dylan waited in the bedroom, pacing, his mind racing through possibilities. A baby, their baby. He had not planned on this happening so soon, but the idea filled him with unexpected joy. The bathroom door opened. Diane stood there, tears streaming down her face, holding the test. "We are having a baby." Dylan's whoop of joy echoed through the apartment. He swept her into his arms, spinning her around, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. "We are having a baby," he repeated, like saying it again would make it more real. "Are you happy?" Diane asked, searching his face. "Happy does not begin to cover it." They told Karen 2 days later. Dylan insisted on doing it in person, wanted to see his mother's face when she heard she was going to be a grandmother. Karen's expression barely changed. She set down her teacup with careful precision. "How far along?" "About 6 weeks. 6 weeks." Karen's tone was flat. "You have only been married for 3 months. Diane's hand tightened on Dylan's. "We know it is fast," Diane said, "but we are excited." Karen's eyes moved to Diane's stomach, then back to her face. Something calculating flickered in her gaze. There and gone so quickly Dylan almost missed it. "Of course, congratulations. I suppose we should start planning for the baby's arrival." But her smile never reached her eyes. And when Dylan hugged his mother goodbye, he did not see the way she watched Diane, did not recognize the look of a woman who had just been given ammunition. The next few weeks were blissful. Dylan and Diane started planning the nursery, arguing playfully over names, reading parenting books together in bed. Dylan found himself talking to Diane's still flat stomach, telling their baby about the life they would build together. "I am going to be different from my father," he told Diane one night. "Present, involved. Our kid is going to know they are loved every single day." Diane ran her fingers through his hair. "You are going to be an amazing father." "How do you know?" "Because I see how you love. Completely. Without reservation. Our baby is so lucky. Our baby is lucky to have you as a mother. You are going to teach them about passion, about fighting for what matters, about building something from nothing." "We are going to be okay," Diane whispered. "Right." Dylan kissed her forehead. "We are going to be better than okay. We are going to be extraordinary." He believed it, completely, utterly. Without doubt, he did not know that his mother had already set the wheels in motion, that she had contacted a private investigator, that she had found Dr. Harris, a doctor recently reprimanded for ethics violations and desperate enough to do anything for money, that she was building a lie so elaborate, so convincing, that it would destroy everything Dylan held dear. He did not know that in a few short weeks he would be holding falsified documents and believing every poisonous word, that he would look at the woman he loved and see a stranger, that he would make a choice that would haunt him for 18 years. All he knew in that moment, holding Diane close and feeling the promise of their future in the tiny life growing inside her, was that he had never been happier. Sometimes the cruelest thing about tragedy is how it waits until you are at your highest point before it strikes. And Dylan Walker was about to fall very, very far. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday evening. Dylan came home from the office to find his mother sitting in their living room. Diane was not home yet, still at a catering job. "Mother, what are you doing here?" Karen stood, smoothing her designer skirt. "I needed to speak with you privately. It is important." Something in her tone made Dylan's stomach tighten. "What is it?" Karen pulled a folder from her handbag. Heavy, official looking. She held it like it contained something toxic. "Dylan, I want you to know that I did not want to bring this to you. I have spent weeks trying to disprove it, hoping I was wrong, but I cannot, in good conscience, keep this from you any longer." "Keep what from me?" She handed him the folder. "I hired an investigator. I know you will be angry, but I had to be sure she was who she claimed to be, that she loved you for you, not for your money." Dylan's jaw clenched. "Mother, we have talked about this. I do not need you investigating my wife. Just look at the folder, Dylan." He opened it, anger making his movements sharp. Then his eyes landed on the first page, and the anger transformed into confusion, then disbelief, then something that felt like his chest was being crushed. Photographs, Diane and a man. At restaurants, walking together, in what looked like an embrace outside her old apartment. Timestamps, dates, some from before their marriage, but some from after, including one from 2 weeks ago. Dylan's hands started to shake. "Who is this?" "His name is Andre Beaumont. He worked with Diane at a restaurant in the village. According to the investigator, they have been involved for over a year." "No," Dylan shook his head. "No, this is not what it looks like. Keep reading." He did not want to, wanted to throw the folder in the trash and trust his wife, but his hands betrayed him, turning pages. Financial records, bank transfers, money moving from an account in Andre's name to Diane's. Not large amounts, but regular. The investigator's notes suggested they were paying for the apartment together, that she had been living with Andre before meeting Dylan. "This has to be a mistake." "I thought so too. So, I ordered a second investigation, then a third. All of them came to the same conclusion." Dylan felt like he was drowning. Why would she marry me if she was with someone else? Karen's expression was pitying. "Darling, you are worth $3 billion, and she is a culinary student drowning in debt." The insinuation hit like a slap. "No, you do not know her. She is not like that." "Then explain the photographs." "The money, transfers, the fact that she never mentioned this man to you." Dylan could not. His mind raced through memories, looking for signs he had missed. Had she been distant, secretive? He could not remember anything suspicious, but doubt was a poison, and it was spreading fast. "There is more," Karen said quietly. "Turn to the last page." Dylan did not want to. Every instinct screamed at him to stop, to go to Diane, to hear her side. But his hands kept moving, kept turning pages, until he reached a document that made his blood turn to ice. A medical report from Dr. Harris. Early paternity testing results. The baby Diane was carrying was not his. "No." The word came out strangled. "I am sorry, Dylan. I am so sorry. This cannot be real." Karen pulled out another document. "I had Dr. Harris run the test twice. I used the DNA sample from your last physical. The results are conclusive. The child is not yours." Dylan sank onto the couch, the folder falling from his hands. Papers scattered across the floor like evidence at a crime scene. His entire world was rewriting itself. Every smile Diane had given him, every "I love you," every promise, all of it suddenly looked like lies. "I need to talk to her." Karen sat beside him, her hand on his shoulder. Of course. But Dylan, be prepared. Women like her are very good at manipulation. She will cry. She will deny it. She will make you feel like you are the one in the wrong. Women like her. The phrase settled into Dylan's mind like a seed. His mother had been saying it from the beginning. Women who want money. Women who prey on wealthy men. Women who cannot be trusted. He had defended Diane against every insinuation, but now, holding proof in his hands, he felt something shift inside him, felt the trust he had built crumble like sand. When Diane came home 2 hours later, she found Dylan sitting in the dark living room, the scattered papers on the floor, his expression carved from stone. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag by the door. "Why are you sitting in the dark? Whose child is it?" The question came out flat, cold, so unlike his voice that Diane actually stepped back. "What?" Dylan stood, gesturing to the papers. "Whose child are you carrying, Diane?" She looked at the papers, then at him, confusion turning to panic. "Dylan, what is this? What are you talking about?" "I am talking about Andre Beaumont. I am talking about the money he has been sending you. I am talking about the fact that you have been lying to me since the day we met." Diane's face went white. "Andre, how do you?" "Dylan, you do not understand. So explain it to me." Diane moved toward him, reaching out, but Dylan stepped back. The movement broke something in her eyes. "Andre is my friend. He was my study partner in culinary school. We worked together at the same restaurant. Yes, he helped me with rent a few times when I was struggling, but I paid him back. Every cent. There is nothing romantic between us. There never has been." "Then why did you never mention him?" "I did. I told you about my friends from school. Andre was one of them." Dylan tried to remember. Had she mentioned the name? He could not be sure. Everything was tangled in doubt now. And these photographs, of us having dinner, of us saying goodbye after work. "Dylan, he is my friend. You are hugging him, because that is what friends do. The baby is not mine." The words hung in the air like a guillotine. Diane's legs seemed to give out. She sank onto the couch, her hands instinctively going to her stomach. "What did you just say?" "The paternity test. It says the baby is not mine." Diane's face was a mask of disbelief. "That is impossible. Dylan, I have never been with anyone but you. Not since the night we met. How could you even think?" "The evidence is right there." "What evidence? Who did this test?" "I never gave anyone permission to test my baby." Dylan's certainty wavered for just a moment. She was right. How had they gotten her DNA? But Karen had answers for everything. Said Dr. Harris had used a sample from Diane's last medical appointment. That it was legal. That it was conclusive. My mother hired an investigator. She wanted to make sure. Your mother, the way Diane said it, with such bitter understanding, should have been a clue. Should have made Dylan stop and think. But he was too far gone, drowning in hurt pride and manufactured evidence. Of course it was your mother. Dylan, she has hated me from the beginning. You know that. And now you are believing her over me. I am believing evidence. Evidence she provided. Dylan, does that not strike you as convenient? The test does not lie. Tests can be faked. Dylan shook his head. Not 3 separate investigations. Not medical reports from a licensed doctor. Diane stood, her whole body shaking. I do not know what your mother did or who she paid, but I am telling you the truth. I have never cheated on you. This baby is yours, ours, and if you cannot see that, if you cannot trust me enough to question these lies, then I do not know what we are doing here. Maybe we are not doing anything anymore. The words came out before Dylan could stop them. Cold. Diane's breath caught like she had been punched. What? I want you out. Tonight, Dylan. I do not want excuses. I do not want explanations. I just want you gone. Tears streamed down Diane's face. Dylan, please, please do not do this. Talk to me. Let me prove it to you. We can do another test, a real one, with a doctor we both choose. I do not need another test. I need you out of my life. What about the baby? Dylan's face was stone, but his voice cracked. I will have my lawyers send divorce papers. You will be compensated fairly. Compensated. Diane's voice broke. Like I am an employee you are firing. You want more money? I am sure we can arrange it. The accusation, the assumption that this was about money, hit Diane like a physical blow. She stared at him, this man she loved, this man she had married, and saw a stranger. I do not want your money, she whispered. I never did. I wanted you. I wanted us. I wanted the family we were building, based on a lie. The only lie here is the one you are choosing to believe. Get out, Diane. Dylan. Get out. His roar echoed through the apartment, through the life they had built, through every promise they had made. Diane stood there, tears streaming, one hand on her stomach, and Dylan saw her break, watched the moment hope died in her eyes, watched her realize that he had already made his choice, and it was not her. She nodded slowly, then walked to their bedroom, came back 20 minutes later with a single suitcase. She had left everything else, the furniture they had picked out together, the kitchen supplies she treasured, the photos on the walls, all of it. She stopped at the door, looking back at him one last time. I love you, Dylan Walker, and I am carrying your children, plural. I found out this morning. We are having twins, but you will never know that now, because you chose pride over trust. You chose your mother's lies over my truth, and that is something I cannot forgive. She walked out. Dylan stood in the silent apartment, surrounded by the wreckage of his life, telling himself he had made the right choice, telling himself the pain in his chest was not regret, telling himself that he had protected himself from a con artist. But somewhere deep inside, underneath the pride and the hurt and the manufactured certainty, a small voice whispered, "What if you are wrong?" Dylan silenced it, poured himself a drink, and called his lawyers. He did not know that he had just made the worst mistake of his life. He did not know that 18 years later, a viral video would show him exactly what he had lost. And he did not know that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, always finds a way to rise. The divorce was finalized in 6 weeks. Quick, clean, expensive lawyers making sure everything was handled with cold efficiency. Diane signed every paper they put in front of her, did not fight for alimony beyond what they offered, did not make demands, just wanted it over. Dylan told himself her compliance was proof of guilt. If she was innocent, she would have fought, would have insisted on another paternity test, would have screamed and raged and refused to go quietly. He did not understand that Diane had no fight left, that heartbreak had hollowed her out, that she was putting every ounce of energy she had into simply surviving each day for the sake of the babies growing inside her. Karen made sure the divorce was kept quiet. No media coverage, no social gossip. The marriage was erased as efficiently as if it had never happened. Did you give her money? Karen asked Dylan over lunch the day the divorce was final. The settlement amount. Karen's lip curled. Too generous for a woman who lied her way into our family. Dylan said nothing, just pushed his food around his plate, appetite gone. You did the right thing, Karen continued. I know it hurts now, but you will move on. You will find someone appropriate, someone worthy of the Walker name. Dylan nodded mechanically, but at night, alone in the penthouse that suddenly felt cavernous, he stood. In the doorway of the room, they had started turning into a nursery. Paint samples still taped to the wall. A single stuffed giraffe sitting on the floor. He had bought it the day Diane told him she was pregnant. He picked it up, held it, then threw it in the trash. But he could not throw away the memories, could not erase the way she had smiled when he proposed, the way she had cried happy tears when she told him about the baby, the way she had looked at him like he was her whole world. What if you are wrong? The voice whispered again. Dylan poured another drink. He was not wrong, could not be wrong. The evidence was irrefutable. So why did he feel like he had just lost everything that mattered? Diane left New York on a bus to Portland. Early morning, the city still dark. She watched through rain-streaked windows as everything familiar disappeared behind her. every mile taking her further from the life she had imagined, every mile taking her closer to an unknown future she would have to build alone. Her hand rested on her stomach, where two tiny hearts beat in rhythm with her own. "I do not know how we will survive this," she whispered, "but I promise you, I will never let anyone make you feel unwanted. Not ever." The babies kicked, small flutters that felt like hope. Diane closed her eyes and let herself cry. Not quietly, not gracefully, but in deep, wrenching sobs that came from the very center of her shattered heart. A woman across the aisle handed her tissues without a word, the kindness of strangers. It was all Diane had now. When the bus pulled into Portland 12 hours later, Diane stepped off into gray drizzle. With 2 suitcases, $300, and no plan beyond surviving the next hour. She found a boarding house through a flyer at the bus station. The landlady, Mrs. Chen, was a tiny woman in her 70s with kind eyes and few questions. "First month's rent is due Friday," she said, handing Diane a key. "You look like you could use some tea." They sat in Mrs. Chen's kitchen, small and cramped and smelling of ginger and star anise. Diane held the cup between her palms, feeling warmth seep into her frozen fingers. "You running from something or toward something?" Mrs. Chen asked. Diane's laugh was bitter. "I do not know yet. That is honest. Honesty is a good start." Diane's eyes filled with tears again. "I am pregnant. Twins. The father does not know, does not want to know. I have almost no money, no job, no plan. I should not be having tea. I should be panicking." Mrs. Chen patted her hand. "Panic later. Tea now." Diane laughed through her tears. Actually laughed. "You are very wise. I am very old. It looks the same sometimes." And just like that, Diane found her first friend in Portland. She found work 3 days later. A diner called Rosie's, tucked between a laundromat and a convenience store. The owner, a woman in her 50s with bleached blonde hair and a cigarette-roughened voice, looked Diane up and down. "You ever waited tables before?" "No." "You pregnant?" Diane hesitated. Lying would be easier. But she had been lied to enough. She would not become a liar herself. "Yes, twins, about 3 months along." Rosie studied her for a long moment, then shrugged. "Long as you can carry plates and do not throw up on customers, I do not care. $6 an hour plus tips. Shifts are long. Customers can be awful. You start tomorrow." "Thank you," Diane whispered. "Do not thank me yet. You have not worked a Friday night rush." But Diane did not care. She had a job. She had a roof over her head. She had 2 babies who needed her to be strong. She could do this. She had to. Working at Rosie's was brutal. Her feet swelled. Her back ached. Customers were rude, demanding, sometimes cruel. The cook yelled. The other waitress resented her. The hours were endless, but Diane showed up every day, smiled through exhaustion, learned to carry 4 plates at once, memorized orders without writing them down, earned her tips, dollar by dollar. And every night she came back to the boarding house, her feet throbbing, her body exhausted, and added her earnings to the jar she kept hidden in her closet. The jar was labeled Haven, because Diane had a dream. She was going to open a restaurant, something small at first, but hers, a place built on passion and quality and love. It seemed impossible. A pregnant woman with no money and no connections, dreaming about owning a business. But impossible was all Diane had left to believe in. She studied at night, borrowed cookbooks from the library, read about restaurant management on her phone while taking breaks at Rosie's, practiced recipes in Mrs. Chen's kitchen, combining her culinary school training with the techniques Mrs. Chen taught her. Mrs. Chen became her lifeline, watching her back as her pregnancy progressed, offering wisdom. "Strength is not loud," Mrs. Chen said one night, helping Diane roll dumplings while her feet soaked in warm water. "Strength is quiet, daily, unglamorous. You have it in spades, girl." Diane's eyes filled with tears. "I do not feel strong. The strong never do." At her 20-week ultrasound at the free clinic, the technician's eyes widened. "Oh my, You are carrying two. Diane stared at the grainy black and white screen. Two tiny forms swimming together, already inseparable. I know, she whispered. Twins. Actually, let me check again. The technician moved the wand, studied the monitor. Her eyebrows rose. I apologize. I miscounted earlier. Definitely two. Diane exhaled in relief. For a moment, she had thought there might be three. Two was terrifying enough. Do you want to know the sexes? Diane nodded. Boys, both of them. Congratulations. Boys. Two sons. Dylan's sons, though he would never know them. Diane placed her hand on her belly. Hello, my loves, she whispered. I am your mother, and I am going to show you what strength looks like. She walked home through the rain, feeling the weight of responsibility settle onto her shoulders, like a cloak made of lead. How would she feed two children? Clothe them, give them the lives they deserved. But beneath the fear, something else stirred. Determination, rage, a mother's promise that transforms women into warriors. Your father does not know you exist, she said aloud, her hand on her stomach. But I do, and I will move heaven and earth to give you everything. The babies kicked in response, small flutters that felt like agreement. That night, Diane sat in her small room and wrote in the worn notebook she kept under her pillow. Step 1. Survive. Step 2. Build. Step 3. Thrive. Then she added a fourth step, the ink darker, pressed harder into the page. Step 4. Never let them see me broken. She underlined it twice, because whatever else happened, her sons would know they were wanted, would know they were loved, would never, ever carry the shame of being called a mistake. Diane Morris fell asleep that night with her hands on her belly and tears on her pillow. But she woke up the next morning and went to work, and the morning after that, and every morning after, for months, building the foundation of a life that would someday become extraordinary. Not because it was easy, but because quitting was not an option. And somewhere in New York, Dylan Walker sat in his empty penthouse, successful and miserable, convincing himself he had made the right choice. He had no idea that the woman he had thrown away was building an empire, and he had no idea that in 18 years his sons would find him. And the truth would destroy everything he thought he knew. Labor came 6 weeks early. Diane woke at 3 a.m. to wetness and pain so sharp it stole her breath. Mrs. Chen, she called out, her voice barely carrying through the thin walls. Mrs. Chen, please. The landlady appeared within minutes, took one look at Diane doubled over on the bed, and started barking orders in Cantonese while grabbing her phone. The ambulance ride was a blur of pain and fear. Contractions coming hard and fast, too soon. The babies were not supposed to come yet. They needed more time. Please, Diane gasped to the paramedic. Please, they are too early. The woman's face was kind but professional. We are going to take care of you. Just breathe. But Diane could not breathe, could only grip the rails of the gurney and scream as another contraction tore through her. At the hospital, everything moved in fast motion. Nurses surrounding her, monitors beeping, someone putting an 4 in her arm, a doctor appearing, young and calm. Diane, I am Dr. Patel. Your babies are coming today. It is earlier than we would like, but we are ready. You are ready. Understand? Diane nodded, tears streaming down her face. I am alone, she whispered. I am doing this alone. No. Dr. Patel pointed to the doorway where Mrs. Chen stood, having somehow followed in a taxi. You have her, and you have us. You are not alone. The next hours were a haze of pain and pushing and screaming and praying. At some point, Diane stopped caring about dignity, about fear, about anything except bringing her son safely into the world. I see the first head, Dr. Patel announced. One more push, Diane. One more. Diane bore down with everything she had. And then, a cry, small and angry, and absolutely perfect. It is a boy, someone said. Strong lungs. They placed him on her chest for just a moment, tiny and red and screaming his fury at the world. Diane's hand cupped his impossibly small head. "Hello," she whispered. "Hello, my love." Then they took him to be checked, and the next contraction hit. "Here comes number 2, Dr. Patel said. "You are doing beautifully, Diane. Again. Push." The second twin came quieter. No screaming, just a small sound that was more question than complaint. "Another boy," the nurse said, but her voice held concern. "He's not crying." Diane tried to sit up. "What is wrong? What is wrong with my baby?" A team of doctors surrounded the second twin. Diane could not see, could only hear muffled voices and the sound of suction. "Please," she begged. "Please." Then, finally, a cry. Smaller than his brother's, but there. "He is okay," Dr. Patel said, smiling. "Just needed a little help finding his voice." They brought both babies to her then, placed them in her arms, one on each side. So small, so perfect, alive and breathing, and hers. Diane looked down at their faces and felt love so fierce, so overwhelming, so absolutely devastating that she could not speak, could only cry and hold them, and whisper promises she intended to spend the rest of her life keeping. The first twin, still angry, had a full head of dark hair and Dylan's exact features. The second, quieter, had softer features but the same dark eyes. "You need names," the nurse said gently. Diane had thought about this for months, had lists written and rewritten, but looking at them now, only 2 names felt right. "Aiden," she said, touching the first twin's cheek. "It means fiery," and Adrian. "It means from the sea." Aiden and Adrian Morris. "Beautiful names," Mrs. Chen said from the doorway, tears streaming down her weathered face. Diane looked up at this woman who had become family. "Will you be their grandmother, since they do not have one who wants them?" Mrs. Chen moved to the bedside, looking down at the twins. "I would be honored." That night, alone in her hospital room while Aiden and Adrian slept in the nursery, Diane made a vow. She pulled out her worn notebook and wrote with shaking hands, "To my sons, you came into this world 6 weeks early, fighting from your first breath. Your father does not know you exist. His mother made sure of that. But you will never feel unwanted. Never feel less than. I will build you a life so full of love and opportunity that his absence will not leave a hole. This I promise. This I swear. You are not a mistake. You are my purpose." She signed it with the date and tucked it back into her bag. Then she closed her eyes and slept, exhausted and terrified, and more determined than she had ever been in her life. 2 days later, a social worker came by. "The hospital bill is substantial," she said gently. "And I see you are uninsured. We have programs that can help." Diane's pride wanted to refuse, but pride was a luxury she could not afford. "Yes, please. Whatever help you can give." The woman made notes. "It says here the father is not listed on the birth certificates." Diane's jaw tightened. "He is not involved. Child support could help with expenses. He does not know about them, and I do not want his money." The social worker looked up, surprised. "Ms. Morris, raising twins alone is incredibly difficult. If the father has resources, he made it very clear he wanted nothing to do with me or any child I was carrying. So as far as I am concerned, he does not exist." The social worker studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, we will work with what we have." After she left, Mrs. Chen came to help Diane pack up. "You are proud," the old woman said. "Too proud. I am not taking money from a man who called me a liar and threw me away, even if it helps your sons." Diane looked at Aiden and Adrian, swaddled side by side in the hospital bassinet. "I will provide for them myself. They will never owe him anything." Mrs. Chen sighed but did not argue. "Stubborn and proud. This will make your life harder. Good. Let it be hard. I will do it anyway." And she did. Raising twins in a single boarding house room was exactly as impossible as it sounded. Diane functioned on 3 hours of sleep, snatched in 20-minute intervals between feedings. She learned to nurse both babies at once, propped on pillows, her body a feeding station. She learned to change diapers with one hand while soothing a crying baby with the other. She went back to work at Rosie's when the twins were 6 weeks old. Mrs. Chen watched them during her shifts, refusing payment. "You pay me back by succeeding," she said firmly, "by showing those boys what a strong woman looks like." Diane worked doubles when she could, took every extra shift, came home smelling like grease and coffee, her feet throbbing, her body exhausted, to 2 babies who needed her. There were nights she cried, nights she sat on the bathroom floor and wondered how she would survive another day. Nights she looked at her sleeping sons and felt the weight of responsibility crushing her. But every morning she got up. Every morning she kept going, because quitting was not an option. The twins grew. Aiden was loud, demanding, always hungry. Adrian was quieter, more watchful, content to observe. They were different from birth, but inseparable. Where one went, the other followed. At 6 months, they learned to roll over on the same day. At 9 months, they both pulled themselves up using the edge of Diane's mattress. At 1 year, they took their first steps within minutes of each other. Aiden first, Adrian following as always. Diane documented everything in a journal. Every milestone, every first, so that someday, if they asked, she could tell them every detail of the childhood their father had missed. She never spoke badly about Dylan. When the twins were old enough to notice other children with fathers, she simply said, "Your Daddy is not in our lives because of grown-up things that happened before you were born. But it has nothing to do with you. You are loved. You are wanted, always." They seemed to accept this. Children are resilient that way. But Diane saw the way Aiden's eyes lingered on fathers at the playground, the way Adrian grew quiet on Father's Day. She overcompensated with love, with presence, with fierce devotion. And she saved. Every extra dollar went into the jar labeled Haven. It took 3 years to save enough for a down payment on a space. 3 years of double shifts and thrift store clothes and meals made from whatever was cheapest. 3 years of sacrifice that carved Diane down to her essential self. When she finally had enough, she started looking for a location. Most landlords took one look at a single mother with twin toddlers and found reasons to rent elsewhere. But Diane kept searching. She found it in southeast Portland, a tiny decrepit space that had been a laundromat, then a pawn shop, then abandoned for 5 years. The floors were stained, the walls were water-damaged, the kitchen was a disaster. But it had potential. The landlord, a man in his 60s with kind eyes, looked at Diane. "You know what you are getting into here. This place needs serious work. I know. You have kids. Twins. They are 3. And you want to open a restaurant?" "Yes." He studied her for a long moment. "Most people would say that is crazy." Diane smiled. "Most people have not lived my life." He laughed and held out his hand. "First and last month rent. And I am giving you a break on the price because I like your nerve." Diane shook his hand, tears in her eyes. "Thank you. You will not regret this." She signed the lease that day, stood in the empty broken space with Aiden and Adrian running around, their footsteps echoing off bare walls. "This is Mama's restaurant," she told them. "We are going to make it beautiful. Can we help?" Aiden asked. "Absolutely." And they did. Renovating Haven while raising 3-year-old twins was chaos. Diane worked on the restaurant every moment the twins were asleep, and many moments they were not. She painted walls while they colored on newspapers spread across the floor. She refinished tables while they napped in a playpen in the corner. She learned plumbing from YouTube videos at midnight. Friends from Rosie's helped. Mrs. Chen contributed her late husband's tools and her own labor. Slowly, impossibly, Haven began to take shape. Diane designed the menu with obsessive care. Comfort food, elevated by technique. Her culinary school training combined with Mrs. Chen's traditional recipes and the practical knowledge she had gained at Rosie's. Every dish told a story. Every flavor was intentional. The twins grew up in that construction zone. They learned to hand mama tools, learned which paint colors went where, learned that building something meaningful required work and time and patience. On the day Diane hung the sign, hand-painted and simple and perfect, Aiden looked up at her. "What does Haven mean, Mama?" Diane knelt to his level, her heart so full she thought it might burst. "It means home." Safety. A place where you are welcomed exactly as you are. Like our house, Adrian said. Like our house, Diane agreed. But, for everyone. Aiden studied the sign seriously. You built this, Mama. We built this, Diane corrected. You two are my reason for everything. Haven opened on a Tuesday morning. Diane had not slept the night before, had paced the small restaurant, checking and rechecking every detail, terrified that no one would come, that she had sacrificed everything for a dream that would fail. The twins sat at a corner table, coloring quietly, while Diane unlocked the door at exactly 11 a.m. For the first hour, no one came. Diane tried not to panic, tried not to think about the loan she had taken out, the bills piling up, the risk she had taken. Then, at noon, the first customer walked in, an older woman with silver hair and curious eyes. I saw your sign, she said. It has been a long time since something new opened in this neighborhood. Diane's hands shook as she handed over a menu. Welcome to Haven. The woman ordered the meatloaf, Diane's elevated version with a balsamic glaze and truffle mashed potatoes. She cooked it with trembling hands, plated it with care, sent it out with a prayer. 10 minutes later, the woman called her over. This is the best meal I have had in 20 years. I will be back tomorrow, and I am bringing friends. She left a $20 tip on a $15 meal. Diane cried in the kitchen while Aiden and Adrian watched with wide eyes. Happy tears, she assured them. These are happy tears. Word spread. By the end of the first week, there was a line at lunch. By the end of the first month, people were making reservations. By the end of the first year, Haven had been featured in the local paper under the headline, Single Mother Builds Dream from Nothing. Diane framed that article, not out of pride, but as proof. Proof that pain could transform into power, that a woman discarded could rise. That impossible was just another word for not yet. The twins grew up in Haven's kitchen. By age 5, they were sorting silverware. By age 7, they were helping with simple prep work. By age 10, they knew the restaurant business inside and out. Aiden loved the operations side. He understood numbers, inventory, customer service. He would follow Diane around with a little notebook, writing down everything she did. Adrian fell in love with the food itself. He would stand on a stool beside his mother, watching her cook, asking questions about every technique. Why do you add butter at the end, Mama? Because it makes the sauce glossy and rich. Fat carries flavor, baby. Remember that. He remembered everything. By the time the twins were 13, Haven had expanded to 3 locations. Diane had become a name in Portland's culinary scene. Not famous, but respected. The reviews praised her food, but they also praised the culture she had built. A place where staff were treated like family, where excellence was cultivated, not demanded. Diane worked 70-hour weeks, but she never missed a school event, never missed a birthday, never let her sons feel secondary to her success. Why do you work so hard, Mama? Adrian asked one night, watching her prep for the next day at midnight. Diane paused, knife in hand. Because I want you to know that your beginning does not define your ending. We started with nothing. Look what we are building. Did Daddy help? Aiden asked. The question still hurt, even after all these years. No, sweetheart. Daddy does not know about you. Why? Because sometimes people make mistakes based on lies, Diane said carefully. And those mistakes have consequences that last longer than anyone imagines. She had promised herself she would tell them the full truth when they were older, when they could understand the complexity. The betrayal, the choice their father had made. But not yet. They were still too young. If you are feeling this story in your bones, if Diane's journey is inspiring you, or breaking your heart, or both, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Because this story is about to take a turn that will leave you speechless. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that your past does not dictate your future, that a single mother can build an empire, that children raised with love do not need a father who does not want them. And comment below. Tell me where you are watching from, or just say I am with you, Mr. Hearthline. Because we are in this together, and what comes next is going to change everything. The twins turned 16 on a rainy April morning. Diane made their favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes and bacon. They ate together in her small house, the one she had finally been able to buy after years of renting. "You are officially old enough to drive," Diane said. "Not that we can afford a car yet." "That is okay," Adrian said. "We can bike, or take the bus," Aiden added. "Like we always do." Diane's heart swelled. They never complained, never asked for things she could not provide, never made her feel like she was not enough. "I have something for you," she said. She pulled out 2 envelopes. Inside each was a check. "This is from the first year of Haven's profits. I have been saving it for you. For college, for culinary school, for whatever you want to do with your lives." The twins stared at the amounts. $5. It was not a fortune, but it was something. "Mama," Aiden whispered, "this is too much." "It is exactly right. You two have worked in that restaurant since you could walk. You have sacrificed normal childhoods so I could build this dream. This is my thank you." Adrian hugged her, tears in his eyes. "We did not sacrifice anything. We had you. That was enough." Diane cried then, could not help it. That night, after the twins went to their rooms, Diane sat alone with a glass of wine and allowed herself to think about Dylan, something she rarely did anymore. He would be 49 now, probably still running Walker Hotels, probably married to someone Karen approved of, probably had other children, legitimate ones, with the right last name. Did he ever think about her, about the baby she had been carrying? Did he wonder if he had made a mistake? Probably not. Men like Dylan did not look back, did not question, did not regret. But sometimes, late at night, Diane wondered what life would have been like if he had trusted her, if they had raised Aiden and Adrian together, if love had been enough. Then she shook her head, finished her wine, and went to bed. Wondering about alternate timelines was a waste of the present, and the present, difficult as it had been, had given her 2 extraordinary sons and a business she was proud of. That was enough. It had to be. The twins discovered the truth by accident when they were 18. They were cleaning out storage at Haven's newest location, sorting through boxes Diane had packed away years ago. Adrian found it first, a small box labeled "Personal," shoved behind old restaurant equipment. "What is this?" he called to his brother. Aiden came over, and together they opened it. Inside were papers, documents, photographs, a marriage certificate. Diane Morris and Dylan Walker. Date: 15 years before the twins were born. Divorce papers, filed 3 months into the marriage. Photographs: their mother, young and radiant, in a simple white dress. Beside her, a man in a suit, handsome, cold eyes even in a wedding photo. And an investigator's report, detailed, damning, completely fabricated. Diane's handwriting across the top in angry red ink, all lies. The twins sat on the dusty floor, reading through everything. Bank transfers from someone named Karen Walker, payments to Dr. Harris, falsified paternity results. "Oh my God," Adrian whispered. She was married to him. Aiden was already on his phone, typing Dylan Walker into the search bar. Images flooded the screen. Forbes articles, society pages, a hotel empire worth billions. "He is our father," Aiden said, his voice hollow. "He does not know we exist," Adrian added. They sat in silence, processing. Their entire lives, they had assumed their fathers simply did not care. Now they understood. It was far more complicated. "He was lied to," Adrian said finally. "And he believed the lies," Aiden countered. "He threw her out while she was pregnant because his mother manipulated him. He should have trusted her. He should have questioned." They looked at each other, identical faces showing different emotions. Adrian's eyes filled with sadness. Aiden's burned with anger. "We have to tell Mama we know," Aiden said. When Diane came home that evening, exhausted from a day of menu planning and staff meetings, she found her sons waiting in her living room. The box open on the coffee table, papers spread out like evidence. Her face went pale. "You were not supposed to find those. Why did you not tell us?" Adrian asked, his voice breaking. Diane sank onto the couch, suddenly looking every one of her 43 years. Because I did not want you to carry my pain. You deserve childhoods free from bitterness. Does he know about us? Aiden demanded. No. He never asked. Never tried to find me. I was pregnant when I left, but he had already made it clear he wanted nothing to do with me or any baby I was carrying. He believed lies over you. He believed what he wanted to believe, Diane said carefully. His mother is a master manipulator, and he was young, proud, scared. People make terrible choices when they are afraid. Do you still love him? Adrian whispered. Diane considered the question honestly. I love who he was. I mourn what we could have been, but I do not love who he became. That man was a stranger. We want to meet him, Aiden said firmly. Diane's heart clenched. Why? Because we deserve to know our father, and he deserves to know what his choices cost him. For hours, they talked. Diane told them everything. The whirlwind romance, the pregnancy, the accusations, the fabricated evidence, the divorce, the years of struggle. She did not sugarcoat it, did not make Dylan into a villain or herself into a perfect victim. She told them the complicated, messy truth. When she finished, Adrian was crying. Aiden was vibrating with barely controlled rage. How did you survive? Adrian asked. Diane touched his face gently. Because of you. Both of you. I had to. He does not deserve forgiveness, Aiden said. Forgiveness is not for him, Diane replied. It is for me, and I let go of that anger years ago. Carrying it was exhausting. I chose strength instead. But we have a right to meet him, Aiden insisted. To tell him what he lost. Diane looked at her sons, 18 years old. Men now, not boys. Strong and smart and ready to fight battles she had protected them from. If you want to meet him, I will support you. But I am asking you to do it with dignity, not for his sake. For yours. Do not let anger make you into someone you are not. The twins nodded. And so, they began to plan. Research revealed that Walker Hotels was expanding into the Pacific Northwest. A flagship Portland location was scheduled to open in 6 months. A grand celebration was planned. Politicians, celebrities, media coverage. That is when we do it, Aiden said. Publicly, so he cannot hide. Adrian hesitated. Mama will be there. Are you sure? Diane listened from the doorway, her heart torn. If truth must speak, let it speak with grace, she said quietly. Over the following weeks, the twins plotted. Aiden drafted a statement. Factual, unemotional, devastating. Adrian gathered evidence, birth certificates, DNA collected from a distant Walker cousin through a genetic testing service, proof of Karen's payments to investigators. But they needed one more thing, a reason for the world to pay attention. That is when Adrian had the idea. The Pacific Northwest Young Chef Championship, a prestigious culinary competition sponsored by Walker Hotels. Dylan Walker himself would be a guest judge. We enter, Adrian said. We win. And we make our announcement at the awards ceremony. It is televised, Aiden added, a slow smile spreading. It will be broadcast live. Diane closed her eyes. You understand there is no going back from this. Your lives will change. The media will dissect every detail. Good, Aiden said. Let them. I want him to see what he missed, Adrian added. To know that we existed, that we mattered. Diane pulled them close. Then, I will be there. Whatever happens, I will be there. The twins spent 4 months preparing for the competition. Diane coached them, her expertise combined with their natural talent creating something extraordinary. They practiced dishes that told their story. Struggle, survival, hope, triumph. Aiden focused on main courses, bold flavors, perfect technique. Adrian specialized in pastries, delicate, beautiful, stunning. They worked together with the synchronicity of two people who had shared a womb, a childhood, a purpose. The day of the competition arrived. The venue was the newly completed Walker Hotel Seattle, glass and marble, elegant, a monument to luxury. Dylan Walker stood near the judge's table, looking bored. He was only there as a formality, a PR obligation. He had no idea his entire world was about to detonate. Competition began. 20 teams of young chefs, all exceptional. The twins cooked side by side, their movements practiced and precise. Dylan barely noticed them at first. Just 2 more competitors in Chef White's. Then he tasted Adrian's dessert. It was a chocolate torte with a raspberry reduction, simple in concept, flawless in execution. But something about it caught in his throat. The flavor profile was familiar. Comfort and elegance combined. Where had he tasted something like this before? He could not place it, shook his head, and moved on to the next dish. When the judges deliberated, the twins were clear winners. Their food was not just technically perfect, it had soul. Aiden and Adrian Morris, the head judge announced. Come accept your trophy. The twins walked to the podium together, identical, confident, carrying themselves with a grace that made people pay attention. Dylan studied them from his seat. Something about their faces nagged at him. Something familiar. The live stream had started. Cameras were rolling. 15,000 people watching online, local news covering the event. Aiden took the microphone first. We want to thank our mother, Diane Morris. She taught us that food is not just sustenance, it is love made visible. The camera panned to the audience, to a woman in her 40s, tears streaming down her face as she stood and applauded. Dylan's heart stopped. That face, Diane, his Diane, older, different, but unmistakable. What? His mind could not process, could not understand. Then Adrian spoke. Everything we are, everything we have accomplished, is because she refused to give up. Even when she was abandoned, even when she was pregnant and alone, even when the man who should have protected her believed lies instead of love. The words hit Dylan like bullets. Aiden continued, his voice carrying across the stunned room. Mr. Dylan Walker, you are sitting in this audience. You judged our food, you praised our skill, but you do not know who we are. Dylan stood without meaning to, his chair scraping loudly against marble. We are Aiden and Adrian Morris, the twins said in unison. And we are your sons. The room exploded. Gasps, shouts, cameras swiveling, reporters lunging forward. Dylan could not breathe, could not think, could only stare at those 2 faces. Face, repeated twice, staring back at him with judgment and pain. No, he whispered. Yes, Aiden said. 18 years ago, you threw our mother away, accused her of infidelity, divorced her while she was pregnant with us. You never looked back, never questioned whether you might be wrong. Adrian held up documents. These are the falsified investigator reports your mother paid for. Bank transfers from Karen Walker. Testimony from the man falsely accused of having an affair with our mother. All of it lies. All of it designed to separate you from your family. The cameras captured everything. Dylan's face draining of color, his hands shaking, his world ending in real time. We are not here for apologies, Aiden continued. We are here for truth. You built an empire. You have wealth and power and success, but you lost us, and you do not get that time back. Adrian's voice was softer, but no less powerful. Our mother raised us alone. She worked 3 jobs. She built Haven restaurants from nothing. She gave us everything. And she never, not once, spoke badly about you. She protected you, even when you did not deserve it. Diane stood in the audience, tears streaming, her hand pressed to her mouth. Dylan's eyes found hers across the chaos. Held, broke. Every child deserves better than being someone's regret, Aiden said, looking directly into the camera. We are not here to hurt anyone. We are here to remind you that actions have consequences, that lies always surface, that people you discard have worth whether you see it or not. The twins walked off the stage. The room erupted. Reporters shouting, cameras flashing, security trying to maintain order. Dylan stood frozen, his champagne glass slipping from his fingers and shattering against the floor. The sound echoed like everything inside him breaking at once. Diane met her sons at the bottom of the stage, touched their faces, pulled them close. "I am proud of you," she whispered. "So proud." Then together, the three of them walked toward the exit. Dylan found his voice. "Diane, wait, please." She paused, turned slowly. The ballroom fell silent. "I am sorry," Dylan said, his voice cracking. "I am so sorry." Diane's smile was sad, gentle. "Final. I know you are, but sorry does not give me back 18 years. It does not give them a father. It does not rebuild trust that was never really there. I was wrong. I was so wrong." "Yes, you were, but I am not angry anymore, Dylan. I am grateful. Your abandonment forced me to become someone I am incredibly proud of. Someone who did not need your name or money or validation to build an empire." She looked at her sons. "You gave me the greatest pain of my life, but you also gave me them, and they are worth every tear I cried." With that, she turned and walked out, Aiden and Adrian flanking her like an honor guard. The doors closed behind them. Dylan stood in the ruins of his celebration, his reputation, his certainty. Around him, chaos continued, but he heard none of it, just the echo of his sons' voices. "We are your sons," and the truth he had buried for 18 years rising like a flood to drown him. The video went viral within hours. Dylan Walker, Secret Sons, expose family betrayal at hotel opening. Billionaire abandoned pregnant wife based on mother's lies. Twin chefs confront absent father live on camera. The clips were everywhere. Social media, news outlets, talk shows. 15 million views in 48 hours. Then 30 million. Then 50. But Dylan did not see any of it. He sat alone in his hotel suite, the celebration continuing without him downstairs, and watched the original video on repeat. His sons, speaking truth while he stood mute and shattered. Their faces were his faces. Their voices carried Diane's warmth. They were extraordinary, talented, confident, everything he could have wanted in children, and he had missed all of it. Every first word, every first step, every birthday, every scraped knee, every moment that mattered. Gone. Stolen. No, not stolen. He had thrown it away. His phone would not stop ringing. Investors, board members, PR teams, his assistant knocking on the door every 20 minutes with increasingly frantic messages. He ignored all of it. Instead, he opened his laptop with shaking hands and typed a name he had not searched in 18 years. Diane Morris. The results flooded his screen. Haven Restaurants, 12 locations across the Pacific Northwest, revenue in the millions. James Beard Foundation nominee, featured in Food and Wine magazine. Portland Businesswoman of the Year, article after article praising not just her food, but her story. Single mother builds culinary empire from nothing, from abandoned wife to celebrated chef. Diane Morris proves resilience tastes like success. Dylan clicked on images. Diane at restaurant openings. Diane with her sons. Diane accepting awards. Older now, but still beautiful. Still radiant, but different. Confident. Powerful. Complete. She had not just survived without him, she had thrived. And the twins. He searched their names. Aiden Morris, business degree, running operations for Haven's expansion, published articles on sustainable restaurant practices. Adrian Morris, Culinary Institute graduate, head pastry chef, already winning awards at 21 years old. They had built lives, successful lives, without needing him at all. Dylan's hands shook as he pulled out his phone and called the one person he needed to confront. His mother answered on the first ring. "Dylan, darling, I have been trying to reach you. We need damage control. I have already contacted the best PR firm in the country. We can spin this as, where are you? At home. Why? Stay there. I am coming. Dylan." He hung up. The drive to Karen's mansion took 20 minutes. Every second, Dylan's rage built. 18 years of lies. 18 years of missing his children. All because he had trusted the wrong person. He did not knock, used his key and walked straight into the sitting room where Karen waited, perfectly composed in a designer suit. She stood when she saw his face. "Dylan, you need to calm down. Calm down." His voice was deadly quiet. "You destroyed my life, and you want me to calm down. I protected you from a woman who was using you. She was not using me. She loved me, and I threw her away because you lied." Karen's composure cracked slightly. "I did what any mother would do." "No." Dylan pulled out his phone, showing her the video. "A mother would want her son to be happy. You wanted control, and when Diane threatened that control, you eliminated her. She was not worthy of you. She built an empire while raising my sons alone. What have you built besides lies?" Karen's face flushed. "How dare you speak to me this way? Everything I did was for your benefit." Dylan laughed, bitter and broken. "My benefit? I have spent 18 years alone. Miserable, going through the motions of a life that means nothing. You call that benefit? You have success, wealth, the Walker legacy. I have nothing," Dylan roared. "Nothing that matters. You took my family from me, my wife, my children. You stole 18 years I can never get back. I saved you from a fortune hunter. She never wanted my fortune. She wanted me, and I was too blind, too controlled by you, too pathetic to see it." Dylan moved to the desk, pulling open drawers. "What are you doing?" "Finding proof. Because I know you, Mother. You kept evidence. You always keep evidence." In the third drawer, he found it. A folder, thick, organized. Bank statements showing payments to Dr. Harris. Payments to 3 different private investigators. Emails coordinating the fabricated evidence. Notes in Karen's handwriting detailing the entire plan. Dylan held it up, his hands shaking. "You documented your own crimes. Those are private. These prove you paid Dr. Harris to falsify paternity results, that you hired investigators to manufacture evidence of an affair that never happened, that you systematically destroyed my marriage. I was protecting you from making a mistake. The only mistake was trusting you." Dylan pulled out his phone and took photos of every document. Karen lunged forward, trying to stop him, but he stepped back. "Do not touch me, Dylan. Please. You do not understand. I understand perfectly. You are a manipulative, cruel woman who values control more than her own son's happiness." Tears filled Karen's eyes, real ones. "I love you. No. You love the version of me you can control, but that man is gone. He died the moment I saw my sons on that stage. What are you going to do?" Dylan's smile was cold. "First, I am having you removed from the Walker Hotels board, effective immediately. You will have no access to company assets, no decision-making power, nothing." Karen's face went white. "You cannot do that. I built this company with your father, and you used it to destroy lives. Consider yourself lucky I am not pressing charges. You would not try me." Dylan headed for the door. Karen followed, desperation replacing her usual composure. "Dylan, please, I am your mother." He turned back, and she saw something in his eyes she had never seen before. Not anger, something worse, indifference. "You were my mother, but that ended the day you lied to me about Diane. I have no mother now, and when I die, you will not be mentioned in my will. You will not attend my funeral. You will get nothing from me except the consequences of your choices. Dylan, goodbye, Karen." He walked out, got in his car, drove away. Behind him, Karen sank onto her pristine white sofa and wept, because she finally understood that some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. And she had burned hers to ash. Back in his penthouse, Dylan sat in the dark and opened his laptop. His fingers hovered over the keys for 20 minutes before he finally started typing. "Aiden and Adrian, I have no right to contact you, no right to ask anything. I forfeited those rights 18 years ago when I chose pride over investigation, accusation over trust, my mother's lies over your mother's truth. But I need you to know, you did nothing wrong. Your mother did nothing wrong. Every ounce of fault rests with me and the woman who manipulated my weaknesses into weapons. I spent 18 years believing a lie. That is not an excuse. It is a fact. I should have questioned, should have fought for her, should have trusted the woman I claimed to love. I did not, and that failure cost me everything that mattered. Your mother is extraordinary. I knew that once, and forgot it when it counted most. That you exist, that you are thriving, that you carry yourselves with such grace, all of that is her doing. I had no part in your success. I do not deserve credit for your strength. But if you are ever willing, I would like to know you. Not as an obligation, not for appearances, but because you are my sons, and I have missed 18 years of your lives, and I would give anything to be even a small part of whatever years remain. I understand if the answer is no. I have earned nothing from you, but I am here, whenever you are ready, or never, if that is what you choose, with profound regret and deeper respect. Dylan Walker. He read it 12 times, deleted it, rewrote it, deleted again. Finally, he sent it before he could overthink anymore. Then he waited. 2 weeks passed in silence. Dylan's world continued to implode. Walker Hotel's stock dropped 30%. Board members called emergency meetings. Investors demanded explanations. The media dissected every detail of the scandal, but Dylan barely noticed. He had removed Karen from the board, released a public statement. 18 years ago, I made a devastating mistake based on falsified evidence provided by my mother, Karen Walker. I abandoned my wife, Diane Morris, while she was pregnant with our twin sons. I have recently learned the full truth of her manipulation. I take full responsibility for my failure to question, to investigate, to trust. I am attempting to build a relationship with my children, not because I deserve one, but because they deserve the opportunity to know their father if they choose. I ask for privacy as we navigate this difficult situation. The statement did little to calm the storm, but Dylan did not care about public opinion anymore. He cared about the email he checked obsessively, hoping, dreading. Finally, a response appeared. Mr. Walker, we received your letter. We have discussed it as a family, including our mother. Are our terms. 1. Any relationship must be built slowly. We do not need a father. We need honesty. If you are interested in knowing us because we are your children, not because we are your obligation, we are willing to meet. 2. Our mother is not part of this equation. Whatever you and she decide regarding your relationship is separate. We will not be used to manipulate or approach her. 3. We need consistency. If you commit to being present, you must follow through. We have lived without you successfully. We will not accept half-hearted efforts. 4. We reserve the right to walk away at any time if this relationship becomes damaging or performative. If you can accept these terms, we will meet you for coffee. Neutral location, 1 hour. We will see where it goes from there. Aiden and Adrian Morris. Dylan read it 20 times, tears streaming down his face. They had given him a chance. Narrow, conditional, earned through nothing but their own generosity. It was more than he deserved. He replied immediately, I accept every term. Thank you. I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve this opportunity. They met 3 days later at a small coffee shop in Portland, deliberately not Haven, avoiding the weight of Diane's empire. Dylan arrived 30 minutes early, too anxious to wait. His hands shook as he ordered coffee he could not taste. When Aiden and Adrian walked in together, Dylan stood so quickly he nearly knocked over his chair. Up close, the resemblance was even more striking. They had his height, his bone structure, his hands, but Diane lived in their expressions, in Aiden's thoughtful observation, in Adrian's quiet warmth. They shook hands, polite, distant, sat across from him like a tribunal. Thank you for meeting me, Dylan began, his voice unsteady. You are welcome, Aiden replied. To be clear, we are here because we believe in second chances, not because we need you. I understand. Adrian studied him carefully. What do you want from this? Dylan exhaled slowly. Honestly, to know you, not as an inheritance or legacy, as people. I want to understand who you are, what you love, what makes you laugh. I want to stop being a stranger to my own children." "That will take time," Aiden said. "I have nothing but time." The conversation was careful, testing boundaries. Dylan learned that Aiden ran operations for Haven's expansion, that Adrian was pursuing advanced pastry certification, that they had scholarships, plans, futures already mapped out without him. He shared about Walker Hotels, though the contrast felt shameful. He had inherited everything, while they had built from nothing. When the hour ended, Adrian said, "This was not awful." Dylan laughed. Unexpected, genuine, high praise. Aiden extended his hand again. "Same time next week? I will be here." They left. Dylan sat alone with his cold coffee, feeling something he had not experienced in 18 years. Hope. The meetings continued. Weekly, then twice weekly. Coffee became dinner. Stiff conversation evolved into something approaching comfort. Dylan learned that Aiden had a dry wit, that Adrian told terrible puns, that they both loved jazz, that they argued about everything but always had each other's backs. They learned he loved architecture, that he had wanted to design buildings before duty demanded he run hotels, that he hated the social obligations of wealth, that he was lonely in ways money could not fix. "You gave up your dreams," Aiden said during one dinner. Dylan nodded. "I thought I was doing the right thing, building the family legacy, but I confused legacy with control. Your mother never did that. She built something meaningful. You could still do that," Adrian suggested. "Maybe," Dylan smiled sadly. "Or maybe my second chance is just being here, with you two." After 3 months, Adrian said, "You should know. We told Mom about these meetings." Dylan's heart stuttered. "What did she say?" "That it is our choice, that she hopes we find whatever we are looking for." "Does she?" Dylan could not finish the question. "Still single?" "Yes," Aiden said. "But that is not an invitation. She has moved on." "I know." Dylan's voice was thick. "I just wonder sometimes if she is happy." "She is," Adrian said firmly. "Not because she forgot you, but because she built a life where your absence does not matter anymore. That is real strength." Dylan nodded, humbled. "She deserves every happiness." The encounter happened by accident 6 months later. Dylan attended a culinary industry gala. Walker Hotels was sponsoring. His presence was expected. He did not know Diane would be there until he saw her across the ballroom. She wore emerald green, hair swept up, commanding attention without seeking it, surrounded by admirers, chefs, critics, entrepreneurs. She laughed at something someone said, and the sound hit Dylan like a physical blow. Their eyes met across the room. Time stopped. 18 years compressed into a single moment of recognition, regret, and something neither could name. Diane excused herself and walked toward him, not quickly, not nervously, with the confidence of a woman who had faced worse than an uncomfortable reunion. "Dylan, Diane, I heard you have been meeting with the kids. They told you. They tell me everything." She smiled slightly. "You do not have to look so terrified. I am glad you are trying." "Are you really?" "Yes." Her sincerity was evident. "They deserve to know you, and you deserve to know them, even if you did not earn it. I will never earn it, but I will spend my life trying." They stood in awkward silence until Diane said, "They speak well of you. You are showing up consistently. That matters. I am trying to be what I should have been 18 years ago. You cannot go back. I know. But I can move forward differently." Diane studied him, this man she had once loved with abandoned trust, who had destroyed her and inadvertently set her free. "I do not hate you anymore, Dylan. I do not love you either, but I am grateful. Your worst moment forced my best ones. I am sorry," Dylan whispered. "I will never stop being sorry. I know." She touched his arm briefly, a gesture of peace, not affection. "But apologies are for you, not me. I have already forgiven you, not because you earned it, but because holding on to anger was exhausting. How did you do it? How did you survive and thrive when I destroyed everything? I had no choice. 2 lives depended on me. So I got up every day, and chose strength. Eventually, strength chose me back. Someone called her name, a prominent food critic. She smiled apologetically. I should go. Diane. He stopped her. You are extraordinary. You always were. I was just too blind to see it. Yes, she agreed without arrogance. You were, but that was your loss, not mine, because I found my own worth eventually, and it had nothing to do with whether you could see it. She walked away. Dylan stood in the crowd, finally understanding the difference between losing someone and losing yourself. He had done both. Diane had only lost him, and somehow she had won everything. 1 year after the viral video, Dylan's relationship with his sons had grown steadily. Not perfect, but present. He attended Aiden's business presentations, Adrian's pastry showcases. He learned their rhythms, their dreams, their fears. They never called him Dad. That title had not been earned, but they called him Dylan, and there was respect in it. Eventually, even affection. He met their partners, Aiden's girlfriend, a sustainability consultant, Adrian's fiancé, a restaurant designer. He listened to their lives, offered advice when asked, mostly just showed up. It was not the fatherhood he had imagined, but it was real. And real was better than the fantasy he had destroyed. One Sunday, Aiden invited him to Haven for family dinner. The first time Dylan would enter Diane's empire. The restaurant was beautiful. Warm woods, soft lighting, the scent of herbs and simmering sauces. Every detail reflected care. Diane greeted him politely, but not warmly. Welcome. Thank you for allowing this. It is not my restaurant tonight. It is theirs. This is their decision. They sat together. Awkward at first, the weight of history pressing down. But the twins filled silences with stories, laughter, the easy rhythm of family. Dylan watched Diane interact with their sons and saw the bond he had never built. Trust, comfort, unconditional love. You did an extraordinary job raising them, he said quietly when the twins stepped away to help in the kitchen. I know, Diane replied without arrogance. I missed everything. Yes, do you ever wonder what life would have been like if I had trusted you? Diane considered the question carefully. Sometimes, but then I remember that the woman I became was forged in the fire of your betrayal. I do not know if I would have found this strength if life had been easier, so I cannot regret it, even when it hurt. I regret it every day. I know. Her smile was sad but genuine, and I hope someday you can forgive yourself the way I have forgiven you. Because guilt is another kind of prison, Dylan, and I want you free so you can fully be present for them. How are you so gracious? Practice and therapy. Lots of therapy. They laughed, tentative, fragile, but real. When the evening ended, Dylan hugged his sons goodbye. This was nice, Adrian whispered. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for letting me. Diane walked him to the door. You are doing well with them. They are making it easy. No. She shook her head. They are extraordinary. But you are trying. That is not easy. Give yourself credit. Can I ask you something? You can ask. I may not answer. Are you happy? Diane smiled. Full, genuine, unburdened, completely. I have work I love, children who are thriving, peace I fought hard to find. I do not need anything I do not have. The unspoken words hung between them, including you. Good, Dylan said, meaning it. You deserve every happiness. So do you. I hope you find it. She closed the door gently. Dylan walked to his car, feeling lighter than he had in decades. He had lost Diane forever. There would be no romantic reunion, no second chance at love, but he had gained something more important, his children's respect, Diane's forgiveness, and the possibility of becoming a better man than the one who had destroyed everything 18 years ago. It was not the ending he had imagined, but it was the ending he had earned, and maybe, finally, that was enough. 5 years after the viral video, Aiden stood at a podium at a culinary conference speaking about sustainable expansion in the restaurant industry. His face confident, his ideas brilliant. Adrian had just been featured in Bon Appetit for his innovative pastry techniques. His creations were art, his future unlimited. Haven had expanded to 20 locations, 2 more in development. Diane had been inducted into the James Beard Foundation. Her speech moved the audience to tears as she spoke about resilience, single motherhood, and building dreams from nothing. Dylan watched the live stream from his office, tears streaming down his face. His sons, thriving, extraordinary, complete. He had been allowed to witness pieces of their success. Attending some events when invited, always present, but never presumptuous. His relationship with them was steady, not father and child in the traditional sense, but connected. They knew he cared. He knew he had been given an unearned gift. The distance between them had narrowed, though some gaps could never fully close. Karen had passed away 1 year after the revelation. Alone, estranged, her legacy one of manipulation rather than love. Dylan had attended the funeral, mourned the mother she could have been, and let go of the bitterness. Forgiveness, he had learned from Diane, was the only path to peace. He had never remarried. Dating felt performative when his heart remained tethered to a woman who had moved on completely. Diane was seeing someone now, a celebrated chef, someone who matched her passion and strength. Dylan hoped it was true. She deserved love that showed up. His phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Dinner next Sunday? Bring someone if you are seeing anyone. No pressure. Dylan smiled. I will be there. Solo, as always. Adrian replied with a heart emoji. Dylan looked out at the Portland skyline, where his children had been raised, where Diane had built an empire, where his mistakes had transformed into someone else's miracles. Thank you, he whispered to the woman who had forgiven him, the children who had given him a second chance, the universe that had been cruel and kind in equal measure. Thank you for teaching me that some mistakes cannot be fixed, only learned from. He closed his laptop and headed to the community center where he volunteered, mentoring young entrepreneurs, offering business advice, trying to build something meaningful from the wreckage of his own arrogance. It was not redemption, but it was purpose. And for Dylan Walker, who had once had everything and valued nothing, purpose was the greatest gift he had ever received. Across town, Diane finished her speech to thunderous applause. She caught Aiden and Adrian's eyes in the crowd. Her heart swelled. They were her greatest achievement, her proudest accomplishment, her proof that love, real sacrificial, unconditional love, could survive anything. As she left the stage, a journalist asked, "Do you have any regrets?" Diane paused, considering the question with the depth it deserved. 18 years ago, I thought my life was ending. Now, I understand it was beginning, so no. I regret nothing, because every scar I carry taught me strength I needed. And your ex-husband. Do you ever wonder what could have been? I used to, but wondering about alternate timelines means questioning the life I have. And this life, these children, this work, this peace, is better than any fantasy. So I am grateful for every choice that led me here, even the painful ones. She smiled, radiant, free, victorious, without vengeance, and walked out into the Portland evening, surrounded by her children, her success, her hard-won joy. Behind her, the crowd continued buzzing about her story. The woman who had been discarded and rose anyway. The mother who built an empire while raising twins alone. The symbol of strength that did not need validation. Diane did not hear their whispers. She was too busy laughing with her children, planning their next restaurant, living the life she had fought like hell to create. And somewhere in that laughter, in the warmth of their connection, in the empire built from abandoned dreams, justice lived. Not loud, not vengeful, just present, just real, just enough. If this story shook you to your core, if it reminded you that your worst moment does not have to define your future, if it showed you that the people who hurt you most sometimes teach you the greatest lessons about your own strength, then I need you to do something for me right now. Smash that like button, subscribe to Mr. Hearthline Stories, and turn on all notifications. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that single mothers are warriors. Comment right now and tell me, Do you think Dylan deserved a second chance with his sons? Could you forgive someone who abandoned you based on lies? What would you have done in Diane's position? And tell me where you are watching from, or just say I am with you, Mr. Hearthline. Because this community, we are building something here. A place where truth matters, where stories have weight, where we do not shy away from the hard stuff. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching until the very end. Thank you for being part of this community that believes stories have power. I am Mr. Hearthline, and I will see you in the next story.